Today I am here at the Lloydminster Co-op Pharmacy, and I'm here with Michelle Teasdale. She is the pharmacy manager, and today we're going to be talking just a little bit about how to protect your skin during the summer. So what is the, just to start out, what is some of the most common questions or cases that you've seen when it comes to people wanting to protect their skin?
So throughout the summer, probably the most common question is which sunscreens are the best? What should we be using, especially on different age groups, so going from babies up to adults?
And going on sunscreen, there's different type SPF. Just to start out, what does SPF do?
So SPF is sun protection factor, and what that means is it's a measure of how much protection you're getting as compared to being outside without sunscreen. So for example, an SPF 15 would be giving you 15 times more protection than being without sunscreen. So it gives you 15 times longer before you burn.
And how can people know that they're buying the right amount of SPF? Like what kind of skin types matches with the certain amount of SPF?
So being out in the sun is quite damaging to any skin, even if we are fair-skinned or dark-skinned. So it's important, and the recommendation is to use SPF 30 for everybody, at least an SPF 30. So even if you are darker-skinned and tanned easily, you still are experiencing damage from the sun, so should be sticking with an SPF of 30 or greater.
And if you're traveling to somewhere outside of Canada that is much warmer, like Australia or Mexico, Hawaii, should people buy a higher SPF if they're not used to going to these warmer places?
It's not necessarily that they need a higher SPF, because 30 SPF is pretty much a full block. It's just that a person might need to apply it more frequently and make sure they're using enough sunscreen on their total body that's uncovered.
And do you have any brands that you would recommend that work more than others?
I wouldn't necessarily recommend a specific brand. It's really important when you're choosing a sunscreen that you find something that covers both UVA and UVB, so it should say broad spectrum coverage. It's important that it's covering both, because both can cause damage.
I guess my last sunscreen related question, should you be looking at different brands for different ages, so babies to younger kids and then adults?
Not necessarily brands. I would say for babies under 6 months, we don't recommend using any sunscreen, but for 6 months and up, it doesn't really matter the brand. Again, it's more important that it's broad spectrum. If a person does have very sensitive skins, there are certain products that are have less chemical in them or better for sensitive skin. There's also another option that would be a physical blocker versus a chemical blocker, and that would be a zinc product. And sometimes people will find that more tolerable if they do have sensitive skin.
Okay, and moving on with repellent, so bug spray, mosquito repellent, what should people be aware of when they're using the specific types of repellents, especially protecting them against mosquito bites?
Yeah, so there's actually lots of diseases that can be spread by mosquitoes, and that's why it's so important to wear mosquito repellent or insect repellent. Insect repellent can also protect against not only mosquitoes but ticks and other types of bugs that are out there. When choosing products, there are two main products that we recommend that are the most beneficial and give you the most coverage against mosquitoes. One of those is DEET, so you've probably heard a lot about that. And then there's another one that's maybe a bit more newer that maybe people haven't heard of, and it's called icaridin, and both are good protectors against insects.
And if people are out like camping or at the beach and it's overcast, should they still be using those extra protections, so sunscreen and bug repellent?
For sure, yeah. It's really important that even if the sun isn't right there, even when there's cloud cover, there is UV rays coming through. So the sun care is still important, and then the mosquito repellent just to prevent any mosquito bites. One thing that we also like to remind people is that it's important not to choose products that combine the two. The reason being is sunscreen needs to be applied much more frequently. So we recommend that a person applies the sunscreen first, waits 15 minutes, and then then uses the bug spray afterwards. And then the sunscreen will need to be applied more frequently.
Okay, and just before we wrap up, if anyone has any questions about what should they be using, what should they not be using, how can they do so?
Anytime a person is unsure about what they should buy, always ask your pharmacist. We have a lot of background knowledge on sunscreen and helping you choose the right product. So I would say that would be your best source of information, I guess.
Okay, well, thank you for taking your time to talk about us. And again, if you have any questions about how to protect your skin during the summer, feel free to ask any of your pharmacists what you should be using to protect yourself. So thank you.
Thank you.